Michael Popok, Legal AF, one of the hardest hot takes I'm going to do is when I talk about the sentencing for Jan 6 terrorists and insurrectionists who attacked law enforcement and others on that day. And one of the most brutal attacks, probably the most brutal attack other than Brian Sicknick, who died the next day defending the Capitol, is the story of Michael Fanone, a DC Metro police officer who was dragged out of the Lower West Tunnel during a battle, hand-to-hand combat with these insurrectionists, these terrorists. He was dragged out in his full gear, including his sidearm, by Albuquerque Head, and then attacked by the mob, including by Daniel Rodriguez, 40 years old, who not only attacked him with a stun gun twice in his neck, but Michael Fanone had a heart attack and suffered traumatic brain injury as a result and no longer can be a member of law enforcement as a result. He even said something so heartbreaking in the courtroom to Judge Amy Berman Jackson before the sentencing of this animal, Daniel Rodriguez, who got 12 and a half years in prison, plus a $100,000 fine for what he did, one of the highest sentences for anybody, and deservedly so. When you hear the list of things that Daniel Rodriguez did, including to Michael Fanone, you'll just be thinking, well, why isn't this guy going away for life? He used a wooden pole and beat law enforcement, including Michael Fanone. He used a fire extinguisher against them. He then got a stun gun from another member of the crowd and used it against law enforcement, including tasing Michael Fanone twice in the neck, causing a heart attack and ultimately traumatic brain injury. He then went for his weapon, Fanone's weapon. If it wasn't for Fanone crying for mercy and that he had children and not because he felt them going for his gun. I mean, this is like a scene out of The Walking Dead where the mutants and the zombies attack. These were zombies, except they're alive and not dead, and they're going away to jail for a long, long time. Michael Fanone had his say in court today, and also on CNN being asked about the 12-and-a-half-year sentence, whether he thought that was appropriate. Before we play the clip, one last word. When Michael Fanone was asked about Daniel Rodriguez by the judge during the sentencing, he said, with sort of the dead eyes that have created, that he now has because of his traumatic brain disorder, he said, I don't think about Daniel Rodriguez at all anymore, or that piece of SHIT. And that's where we are with Michael Fanone at the moment, trying to rehabilitate himself and recover some semblance of dignity and faith in a justice system. So let's hear if he believes now the justice system has done right by him with the sentencing today. We'll roll a clip from CNN.
With the stun gun by this man, you also suffered a mild heart attack and concussion that day. So what is your reaction to today's sentence?
I think the 12 and a half years was appropriate, and I'm satisfied with that sentence.
Do you think it goes far enough? That's exactly appropriate.
With regards to the crimes that Mr. Rodriguez committed, yes, I'm satisfied with that sentence.
You were in the courtroom today. What did you make of his outburst? I mean, Trump won. That's the same lie that was behind the attack on the Capitol to begin with.
I think what I've been seeing is that is the rule rather than the exception, that there's no remorse on the part of the individuals that committed acts of violence on January 6th, specifically those individuals that assaulted police officers, that destroyed property. I've seen time and time again the pleas for leniency, and then once the sentences is handed down, as it was today, and there was no further acts that could be taken by the court against Mr. Rodriguez, he decided to have an outburst in which he declared that Trump was the winner of the 2020 election.
So there you have Michael Fanone, quite remarkably, saying that 12 and a half years is about right for this particular person. I'm sure he has opinions about other people that fought law enforcement for the soul of America at the Lower West Tunnel, which is the scene and the location of the most brutal fighting and defense by law enforcement to stop them, the terrorists, from getting into the chambers and assassinating and implementing their plan of bloodlust to kill elected officials. And we know that because, and just throw this out there, Rodriguez actually used social media during the attack and proudly declared that he had just tased the F out of the blue, the cops, complimenting himself and congratulating himself for tasing Michael Fanone and causing a heart attack. We've all heard the famous line, try it free for 30 days. Yeah, well, that's just enough time to try it and then completely forget about it. In fact, over 80% of people have subscriptions they forgot about. You could be wasting money and not even realizing it. Rocket Money helps you find those forgotten subscriptions so you can stop paying for the ones you don't use. Do you know how much your subscriptions really cost? Most Americans think they spend around $80 a month on subscriptions, but the actual total is closer to $200. If you don't know exactly how much you're spending every month, you need Rocket Money. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower your bills all in one place. Over 80% of people have subscriptions they forgot about, and chances are you're one of them. Like that Stars app just to watch one show, or that free gaming trial you never actually use. Rocket Money will quickly and easily find your subscriptions for you, and for any you don't want to pay for anymore, just hit cancel, and Rocket Money will cancel it for you. It's that easy. Rocket Money also helps you manage all your finances in one place and automatically categorize your expenses so you can easily track your budget in real time and also get alerted if anything looks off. Over 3 million people have used Rocket Money, saving the average person up to $720 a year. Stop throwing your money away, cancel unwanted subscriptions, and manage your expenses the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/legalaf. That's rocketmoney.com/legalaf. So you might be wondering, did he show any remorse in court today during sentencing? And the answer is no. He lied his way through sentencing, telling the judge, Amy Berman Jackson, for a half an hour, this rambling, crazy speech about socioeconomic classes and the fact that he grew up, in a weird, had a bad upbringing and socioeconomic impacts on his life, and the BLM protests in the summer had an impact on him. I don't think Amy Berman Jackson was buying any of it. In fact, when she had her say prior to sentencing, she said point blank that he was a one-man army, that he wanted blood in the streets, that he wanted Congress to hang and he was going to do it, that this was violence against all of Trump's enemies, or in his words, and that as by contrast, officers, and especially, she pointed out, Michael Fanone, were there protecting America and protecting democracy. And then she sentenced him, which sort of concludes him being then remanded to the Bureau of Prisons and federal marshals and walked out the door. On the way out, he screamed, "Trump won! Trump won!" Let's just stop right there. And you heard it on the clip from Fanone. So there's no remorse. They still believe this BS. They still are smoking their own supply. They're still members of the MAGA cult. They will be till the day that they die. They won't be rehabilitated. Now, some people might say, well, can't she re-sentence him? The answer is no. But the future parole board will take note of his lack of rehabilitation. And if he thought he was going to get something off his sentence, like a third or a couple of years off, he's not. He's going to be there till the bitter end of the last day of the 12th year of the 6-month sentence. And then he's going to have to pay this money when he comes out. And sure, he'll be 52 or 53 when he comes out, but he'll be permanently branded an enemy of the American people and of democracy with his brand of stupid and immoral behavior in their attacks. I've covered about a dozen of these sentencings over the course of the last year and a half. And Amy Berman Jackson's comments But more importantly, Michael Fanone's comments were heartbreaking. And once you hear the description of the carnage, the violence that's being perpetrated by people like Albuquerque Head and Daniel Rodriguez, and you then stand that in contrast to MAGA leadership like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz and others who want to see people like this released from the jail, the DC jail where they're sitting until their sentencing, like Daniel Rodriguez, who I guess joined a choir, and therefore Marjorie Taylor Greene thinks he should be released. You know who's not in the room during sentencing and can be because it's a public forum? MAGA leadership. Sit and listen to the heartbreaking tale and story of Michael Fanone and his loss of faith in justice and in you as elected officials and what happened and the blow-by-blow account of what happened on the battlefield that was the Lower West Tunnel as the police fought for democracy in America, for our way of life, for our constitutional republic, so that you can sit in a chamber and not be hanged or assassinated or run out on a rail by an angry mob. That's because of Officer Fanone. Not because of your BS tweets and videos and trying to raise money for the unfairly jailed, the political prisoners of Jan 6th, like who? Marjorie Taylor Greene, like Daniel Rodriguez, using a fire extinguisher, using a wooden spear, tasing law enforcement. Oh, you're really pro-law enforcement. I would imagine in your district in northern Georgia, there's a fair amount of people that are law enforcement and firemen and EMS. And that's who you're defending. Somebody who attacks our way of life and people who are public servants with the highest level of courage compared to you. And I leave you with that on this particular hot take. I'm a little bit fired up on the hot take because it always gets me when I got to do the Jan 6 sentencing. But we got to do the Jan 6 sentencing because we got to get the facts out there to people to understand why Donald Trump can never get anywhere near the White House again. He's unfit to be the leader of the free world because he created lunatics and maniacs and activated them like a sleeper cell on Jan 6th. If you like what I'm doing here at the intersection of law and politics, I do it about every day only on the MeidasTouch Network. You can follow me on all things social media at MS Popok, and I co-anchor and co-founded the leading legal and political podcast also on the MeidasTouch Network called Legal AF. And you can watch us on Wednesdays and Saturdays for a long-form version where we curate the stories from the week that we think you need to know in these politically charged litigation matters. And I'm going to keep bringing it to you. You can communicate to me through comment section on this video and by giving me a thumbs up. It helps with the quantity and quality of the things that we do for you on this network. And I look forward to seeing you on Wednesdays and Saturdays at Legal AF. This is Michael Popok reporting.
Hey Meidas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram at MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.